Now sorry about that. We're live and we're recording.
I see that we are 9 participants.
Yes, we would have yourself in the main room, myself as clerk, CAO, Ms. Councillor Ravita, Councillor Millette, Councillor Larrabee, Councillor Senecal, Councillor Fisher, Councillor Duhame, and our guest, Ms. Kathy Horgan from MMAH.
Okay.
Just, Madam Mayor, just got a text from Dennis. He doesn't have any internet. They didn't have hydro, now he doesn't have an internet, so he won't be at the meeting.
Okay. Okay. Well, we're 4 o'clock, so we're going to start. So welcome to our special meeting of council. Bienvenue à notre réunion spéciale du conseil. Are there any declaration of pecuniary interest? Aucune déclaration d'intérêt pécuniaire? Hearing none. Is there a mover and a seconder to adopt the agenda? Conseiller Yvon, Conseiller Chris.
Be it resolved that the agenda for the special meeting of council held on May 10th, 2022 be approved as presented.
Any objections? Aucune objection? Hearing none, carried. We proceed with delegation and petition, délégation et pétition. Amongst us, we have our guest, Ms. Kathy Horgan from the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing to address council. So I'll pass it on to you for the presentation to council.
Hey, thank you. And good afternoon, Your Worship and members of council. Thank you for meeting with me today. I am meeting with you as a follow-up to the minister's letter of April 25th. So on April 28th, the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing made an order under Section 14 of the Municipal Affairs Act, which directed the members of council to meet with a facilitator selected by the ministry as the times and in the manner that the facilitator specifies, with the objective of the municipality appointing a person to fill the vacancy on council. So that order was communicated to, was provided to the municipality on April 28th. And as noted, it was included, or it was, the minister did indicate in the April 25th letter that he would be making that order. The facilitator, so I wanted to advise you today that the facilitator selected by the ministry is Mr. Nigel Belchamber. As the facilitator, Mr. Belchamber will work with council to assist the municipality to fill the Ward 7 council seat on or before June 30th, 2022. So as part of his role as facilitator, Mr. Belchamber will meet with council, meet with members of council and staff of the municipality at times and in the manner determined by the facilitator. So the Mr. Belchamber will work with you and set a schedule for those meetings. The facilitator will also provide strategic advice to council and facilitate council deliberations related to the filling of council vacancy. And based on feedback from council, members of council, and staff, the facilitator will prepare a draft process to select a person to be appointed to fill a vacancy on council and provide a copy to you for your review and adoption. So he will walk you through the process of developing a process, and then he will draft it and prepare and send it back to you for your final adoption. And then from there, you will implement that process that that he works with you on. In the April 25th letter, the minister also advised that in order to address workplace function and council conduct concerns, ministry staff was directed to undertake a review of the administrative practices, policies, and procedures of the municipality, and to report back on any recommendations to council for any improvements. As he noted, the report will be made available to council and the public once it's completed. Brian Searle, who's the municipal advisor in the Sudbury Municipal Service Office, he will be leading that review. He'll be reaching out to your clerk shortly to arrange for a time to attend at the municipal office to gather various policies, practices, and procedures that we'll need to review. During this visit to your office, ministry staff will also meet with your staff to make general inquiries about those policies, procedures, or practices to ensure we have a good understanding of how they are working in your municipality. The information and gathered in copies that we gather will then be reviewed over the next few months to determine if there are any gaps and if any recommendations for improvements are necessary. So when I say to determine if any recommendations, some of your policies may be really good. So we may also be able to say, pick out certain things that, we want to also promote for you and give recognition for those that are working well, and then offer our improvements, suggestions for any improvements. So as part of this process, ministry staff will also search for any leading practices that could also help inform any recommendations that we make. Ministry staff will try to minimize the impact on municipal staff as much as possible. And I can assure you that we will be respectful of municipal staff time and their workload, which is why, we will be scheduling it over it won't be a short review, recognizing that your staff are busy, and we want to ensure that that we're not disruptive during this process as much as possible. The minister had also indicated in his letter that ministry staff, that he directed ministry staff to attend the municipality's public council meetings as an observer for the remainder of council's term. So thank you to the clerk who's already sent us, invitations for your last meeting as well as this one. So I will be participating in your whole meeting as requested by our minister, and as an observer. And Brian Searle in our office, who's, again, as I noted, he's your municipal advisor. He will be attending most of your future public meetings, and either him or I will attend. So that was the information that I wanted to prepare for you. I also wanted to note that I'll be attending the meetings that you have with your facilitator to observe the process of developing a policy and, or not a policy, but a process for filling that vacancy. So that concludes what I wanted to present to you today. So thank you again for agreeing to meet with me. And I do look forward to working with the municipality over the next few months on the review.
Thank you. I'm just going to open the floor to see if there's any questions from any members of council. If there's no objection, est-ce qu'il y a aucune question des membres du conseil? None? Okay. So the next step, Kathy, we're going to wait to hear from the facilitator that will be in contact with council to define timelines so we can move forward with that process.
Correct. It will happen quickly. So I would say probably before the end of this week, Mr. Belchamber will be, or I will be in touch with the municipality to set up that first meeting where he can start the process with the municipality.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Well, I think, yeah, we received the letter and It's basically everything that was identified in the letter by the minister. Okay. So, on procède avec la prochaine item à l'ordre du jour. Just give me a second here, my iPad. Okay, so we're moving on to unfinished business, les affaires non complétées. And the first item is the approval of the 22 municipal expenditure estimates. So I'll pass it on to our CEO just to walk us through the memo that was provided to us.
Suggestion, I suggest that we move in second and table the resolution, then I'll speak to it, please.
Okay, is there a mover and a seconder? Conseiller Yvon, Conseiller Chris.
It's moved by Councillor Duhaime and Councillor Fisher, whereas deliberations were held at a special meeting or at special meetings on March 2nd, March 8th, April 13th, and April 26th, 2022 to discuss municipal expenditure estimates for the year 2022. Be it resolved that Council for the Corporation of the Municipality of West Nipissing approves the municipal expenditure estimates in the amount of $36,065,388, which represents a general tax levy increase of 1%. So I'll just go over her memo, but I mean, it really is a synopsis through you, Madam Mayor, of our deliberations and what we agreed to do to take it down to 1%. So the represent an average, it represents $19 a year to an average homeowner. Some of the challenges, as you know, were the insurance costs, COVID-related issues, and which provided some issues with respect to how we got the job done last year. So the breakdown of the revenue, or of the 36 million, the revenue from property tax covers 53%. Of the total amount, 19,213,000. OMMPF amounts to 18.27%. 11.19% are the other funding sources that we have: NORDS, gas tax, OSIF, general reserve transfers of we're still going back to taking our surpluses and moving them over to assist in getting to a level, and that's 4.32%. User fees amount to 7.6%. And we have dividends from West Nipissing Power Gen and other provincial funding make up the remainder. So the changes in the workbook were those that were established prior to prior to the last meeting. There was a small amount, I believe it was 2,250 for bursaries that was increased. There was an increase to the pool in Cash Bay, and a reduction of the original document estimate of not hiring a position in assistance in community services. And so that pretty much is a synopsis. What I'd be prepared to do as well is, we will be putting together the document, bringing it back to council, and also posting it on various forms of communication to provide a highlight of what the budget is for this year.
Okay, thank you. I'm just going to see whether or not if there are any members of council that do have any questions. Conseiller Leo.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. No, I will support the budget at 1%. The only concern I have is, I guess some of you also, is the cost of fuel going up. I don't know what's going to happen with that, but that's my only concern. But I do approve of the 1% increase in the budget. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Any further questions? I did have a few questions. I was just waiting till the end. So initially we were taking $1.2 million out of reserve to have it at 2.37, but with the adjustments. So what is going to be the total amount that we will be taking out of reserve to bring it down to 1%?
Trying to find that, Madam Mayor. You caught me off guard. I didn't get the information here. So just an additional transfer from reserve of 301,110 to the original amount in the document. Do you have that amount in the document? I suggest it's around 1.4, but
Okay,
and so just not to split hairs, but you know, it amounts to just slightly less than the surplus that we had last year, which was 1.43 something. So it's just slightly less than that, because if you'd have taken the entire surplus, I believe it would have brought the percentage increase to around 0.8.
okay. And for the questions that were submitted that they don't change the final numbers, but when can one expect the answers, i.e. The leases that were not ratified at council, the lease for OMAFRA, the lease for OPP. Those were questions that I had submitted to find out where do I find those lease revenues and what are the lease amounts.
And we're on coincidentally, I've seen some back and forth, and believe it or not, we're still negotiating with Infrastructure Ontario for some of those leases. We have been diligently, and I saw it. I'm not going to complain against the government here, but I've seen requests from the contact that we have at CBRE and who works with IO, Infrastructure Ontario. And I've seen Elisa's response to provide that quickly and whatever. So it's still in their court. As soon as they come, it will be put on an upcoming agenda. And so I would have thought 3 months ago. So
Okay.
for me to guess, it would be like guessing, when a council meeting is.
I just want to clarify, does it mean that until the lease agreement is executed and ratified by all parties, that right now we're not getting any lease revenue? Because that's what they stated on an email, that it would not be retro. It would only be kicking in effective the date that it would be ratified and executed by all parties.
Right, it will be retro.
It will be?
Yes, otherwise we would be kicking and screaming. They're using our facility, and it will be retro. And the way it's being recorded now is it's being recorded as a receivable against that. So we are accounting for it. We just haven't received the funds.
Okay. And in our budget, we have the animal control, which the contract ended December 2021. We've extended the agreement with the service provider till the month of June 2022. What happens after the month of June?
It may need another extension, given some of the to and fro that have gone on with staff and our ability to pull that off. I believe that Elisa, Ms. Craddock, was working on that. We spoke a couple of weeks ago on that. So I believe that should be going out shortly.
Okay. If it does require another extension, is it going to be coming to council? Because that would end up to be an agreement of nearly 100,000 for 12 months.
I would imagine that any extensions that we have would come out, or at the minimum, that would be proper. But at the minimum, we would just extend under the same terms, and until we have a new provider or a renewal of the same provider.
Okay, but sorry, maybe I didn't phrase my question correctly. Extend the term. If it needs to be extended, then it needs to come to council, right?
In general, yes.
Okay.
I suppose it would. If it doesn't, it's because we still need to provide animal control services, and council hasn't been that easy to meet. So we'll certainly look at it.
Okay. Okay. And the only when we do get the revised workbook, I just want to make sure that the increased levy for Eau Château, the amount that was provided to us was slightly over 11%, but the levy increase is below 2%. So I just want to make sure that the workbook reflects the actual levy increase for the Eau Château.
I don't understand your comment.
Okay, well, when the information was provided pertaining to the levy increase for the various boards,
Mhm.
Eau Chateau was identified that their increase was in excess of 11%.
Okay.
But the levy for Eau Chateau is not an increase of 11%. It's minimal this year. It's less than 2%.
And as we indicated, what we have done, which I'm very happy, is part of those reserves that you're funding is actually funding a dedicated reserve to assist with the redevelopment. And so the increase in the percentage deals with the fact that we've parked money ready for the redevelopment, which is a good news story.
Yes, I agree. The only thing that I'd like to have on record is I've been quite vocal on the subject matter was the community projects, where there's an increase of 75,000 for this year. Last year, council did not keep community projects under operation. We had shifted that to capital projects. So I still want that on record, because so far we did not get all the proposals from the various communities on exactly the detailed plans that they are looking at spending the money. So I still want to make sure that that's on record, that next year, the baseline will probably, there's always the risk that the baseline identifies 125,000 for the baseline next year. And that's the reason that I don't support that it stays in operation. I'm just putting it on record again. Okay. Are there any further questions? No? Okay, so we have the budget in front of us with a 1% increase. Those in favor, en faveur? Carried, adopté. Okay, so we'll need a mover and a seconder for the next item, which is to set the tax ratios for 2022. Conseiller Alice, Conseiller Léo.
You resolve that bylaw 2022-43 to set tax ratios for the municipality of West Nipissing for the year 2022 shall come into force and take effect on the date it is passed.
Are there any questions or comments? Hearing none. Conseiller Chris, did you have a question?
Yeah, quick question. So the new multi-res property class, which is 1%, whereas multi-residential property tax regular is 2%. Is that something new that or is that just something I missed in the past? Are there two different rates, and what is the meaning of new? And I'm not sure that I quote that in the past, or if it's something that I don't know about. Thank you.
If I'm not mistaken, Councillor Chris, that was carried over from the previous council. So we've had this for a couple of years now. And the distinction between both was to provide an incentive for new development for multi-res. And I'll just ask our CEO if he has any further information or clarification to those questions.
No, it is fairly recent. However, it is a new property class, and that is my understanding of the explanation.
Okay. Does that answer your questions, Conseiller Chris?
Just as perhaps we need Ms. Craddock here, but so well, I guess my question would be, what defines new? Is that new for a year? Is it new for 5 years? Sorry, it's probably not your.
I don't have that level of detail.
Okay, I don't need it now, but I would like to know. Thank you.
Any further questions? Any objections pertaining to the resolution? None, carried. Okay, so now it's to set the tax rates for 2022. Need a mover and a seconder for that resolution. Conseiller Chris, Conseiller Yvonne.
Moved by Counselor Fisher, seconded by Counselor Duhane. Be it resolved that bylaw 2022-44 being a bylaw to adopt the 2022 tax rates to be levied and to further provide for penalty and interest in default of payment thereof shall come into force and take effect on the date it is passed.
Are there any questions? Customarily, there's always a discussion, pertaining to the commercial rate. Should it stay the same? Should it be lowered? If it is, what's the impact?
That would have
Did we
been,
have,
that would have been the ratios discussion, Madam Mayor.
okay. But did we have any changes that were approved last year? Do you recall?
To be fair, and Elise is normally around the corner somewhere. She's away today on a health issue, but so I really don't. I'm really not prepared. I don't recall. I thought we had that discussion, but I don't recall what your solution was.
Okay. Conseiller Chris?
We did discuss that in the past, and I think one of the things that is always made clear to us, and the reason we tend to get a bit gun shy on that, because I believe that when you start moving the ratios, you can't move them backwards or something like that. So I know we've had long discussions on it. We've always ended up just keeping the status quo in fear of doing something and not being able to reverse that decision. And that's as I remember things. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? Aucune question, Conseiller Lise? You are on mute, Conseiller Lise.
I do know, thank you very much. Well, one of the reasons also was that we know if there's a decrease in one, somebody else got to take the difference in money. So there was those two reasons that was discussed about the ratio for that. Thank you.
Okay. Are there any objections? Aucune objection avec la résolution? Hearing none, carried.
So now we have a confirmatory bylaw.
We'll need a mover and a seconder. Conseiller Chris, Conseiller Leo.
It's moved by Counselor Fisher, seconded by Counselor Millette. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2022-45 being a bylaw of the municipality of West Nipissing to confirm the proceedings of council at its meeting held on the 10th day of May 2022 shall come into force and take effect on the date it is passed.
Any objections? Aucune objection? None, carried, adopté. And to adjourn the meeting, we need a mover and a seconder. Conseiller Chris, Conseiller Rowley.
Moved by Counselor Fisher, seconded by Counselor Larrabee. Be it resolved that the meeting of council held on May 10th, 2022 be adjourned.
Hearing no objections, carried, adopté. So thank you for this meeting, and we have a budget that has been adopted.
If I could just ask council, and there's going to be a variety, as Ms. Horgan was talking about, just discuss their or provide me with their available dates in the next, I understand this week is off, but next week and the week after, I would really appreciate that. And we'll be able to see when we can find a quorum for meetings.
Okay. Conseiller Lise?
May I suggest, Mr. Barbeau, that we send the doodle poll? Because staff, I think if you gave us 3-4 dates, usually worked out that it's easier like that.
If that works for you, fine. Knowing your schedule and just sharing it also works, but I'll ask the deputy.
Knowing what? Knowing my schedule?
Well, knowing when you're available for me also.
Okay.
Well, it's often because I could be available and cannot be available because there's different thing going on. So,
okay, so that would be for the solid waste and water and sewer budget. Okay, so do we agree that we'll be provided with potential dates, or do you?
Yeah, I'll have Janice send something out to you.
Okay, this way it'll make it simple and everyone can reply to the proposed dates.
Great. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.